Okay, so now what I want to do, I'm gonna go in here and we'll do the IK one. So the IK, if I just want to move some of the stuff around here, so I'm just gonna hold down Control, switch places here. Remember, you can do the same thing in the outliner too. When you're in the outline, look at this mess. If I go in and I want to move these things around here, like there's this one, I hold down Control and I middle click. Actually, just hold on a second. It's not middle. I don't have to hold down Control. I never use this. Okay, it's the same thing. So there's forward, flip them around. Anyway, so now we're on to this. IK. Hide that freaking outliner. And if I go over and I isolate this, got all these joints in place, I'm going to go into, remember to in the first video, I went in and I took this joint and I rotated it and I said set preferred angle. I don't need to do that again. Okay, I'm just going to zero this out. And if I go in and I go to skeleton and I go to create IK handle and I like my sticky on. Okay, and I'm going to click one on the shoulder and I'll click down to the wrist. And because I have that ulna independent here and it's parented to this, that way I can kind of skip having to do any weird calculations. And now when I do this, it's going to bend properly because I did that set preferred angle. If it goes in any other weird direction, you don't have it straight or something like that, there's a problem. Okay, I'm going to undo that. So I got my IK handle. And I probably need some kind of control for the elbow. You can choose to do this a couple different ways. I think I'm going to create a locator. And I'm just going to hold down V, pop it here. If you want to make it bigger, if you scale it and then you freeze it, it goes back to the size. But if you go down here to the local scale and you make that a bit bigger, then you can easily see it. Okay, and that's going to be the elbow underscore control. Okay, and this is my hand, or let's call it arm. Okay, great. And then I need some kind of control for the hand here. I'm just gonna go in and do I want to use a circle again, or do I have some other kind of design? How about I just grab this thing, I'm going to make a duplicate, and then I'm going to hit Edit, Unparent. Boop! And it pops it over here. And then just for fun, let's just isolate it. And I'm just going to give it some kind of other shape. Here, I'll just do something like this. Grab these points. Remember, this doesn't affect it. I'm just changing the shape. Hold down Shift and reverse the order. Just, like I said, something simple. Done. Okay, and wrist control. And let's just call that IK underscore wrist control. Alright, maybe I should call it, yeah, wrist IK control. I don't know, whatever. And then let's just isolate these things again. Whoop. So less stuff to look at. This thing here is snapped up to where this elbow is. If I grab this controller and I hold down Shift and I grab the IK handle and I go and I hit Constraint pull vector, that totally works. And now you'll see that when I go and I grab the IK handle and I move it, the elbow is going to be constantly trying to be pointing at the locator. There's that funny line that shows up that shows they're connected. The next thing is this controller, and I grab the IK handle. I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit Constraint, and I'll do a point constraint. And so it means when I grab this controller, the IK handle follows. Okay, and so that's done. And again, I can make like a little set-driven key for this thing so it follows this, or it has its own little independent control on here for rotating the ulna if you've got something on there. You might not even need this, you could delete it. So we got the elbow control, got the wrist control, and we've got the IK arm. You might also want, actually, these should both be following the clavicle. Okay, whatever, I'll come back to that. I just realized something. I was thinking too much about putting in another control in here, and that might be weird. So, I've got these set up. One more thing I want is I want to be able to control the rotation of this joint. And so if I grab this controller and I grab this joint here by itself, I do a constraint, I can do an orient constraint. And remember, in the previous video I talked about dirty groups. If there's any kind of weird flipping from this joint or anything like that, then I might do this differently. So that's done. And now we're just going to go in and mentally prepare for the next part of this. And when I do this, let's make this a bit bigger so you can see what the hell I'm looking at. Okay, and I'm just going to grab this shoulder control, and I'm just going to rotate it a bit so it's kind of easier to see what the hell I'm doing. Or hopefully easier to see what the hell I'm doing. And let's go and make sure X-ray joints is on. X-ray joints is also under shading X-ray joints. And I'm just going to make this so that we can see the mesh. I'm going to turn the wireframe off so it's a little bit less visually cluttered. Okay. And of course, actually, just one second. This thing, how come those are drifting off? I need to pause. Okay, I spotted a problem, and when I realized the constraint here was it was constrained to two objects. It was constrained to one of the other joints in here, and that's why it was drifting off. So I just fixed that. Okay, everything's cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and I'll try and do this in an order constantly here. I'll grab the FK, then I'm going to grab the IK, then I'm going to grab the skin joints. Okay, and I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see the skin joints are... yeah, they're there. Forward kinematics. I see what happened. Somehow I was smoking crack and I parented some things in here. Hold on a second. So which one is this? This is those controls, and they're parented to this thing. Okay. I must have been not completely thinking when I was moving things around here. Okay, let's move this over here. Great. Okay, let's do it again. So when I grab this one, so there's my FK, then my IK, and then my skin joint. And they're in 3 separate hierarchies. And if I go here to constrain and I put an orient constraint on it, now this thing moved and it's trying to be constrained by these two here. I'll do the same thing over here. Grab this one, grab the elbow for the forward kinematics, elbow for the inverse kinematics, then grab the joint here for the bound geometry. And I'll go in here and I'll do constrain, orient. Okay, it's just kind of drifting between the two right now. And I'll do the same thing here. Grab this joint. That one. Gotta watch out, I just grabbed the IK handle, right? So, there, got the joint. And then I go in here and I grab... hold on a second, I'm losing my mind. Where is this thing coming from? So this is this, that's that. What the hell is that thing? I gotta pause again. Okay, I discovered that I had at some point duplicated in here, and I could go back in the videos and find it, but it's not important right now. And so, yeah, I just eliminated a bunch of joints, and then I redid this, and everything's cool. And now when I go back here to scale, I go into constraint, and I put in orient constraint. Great, everything's great. So now I've got a constraint on these joints. Okay, and they usually come in down here. Remember, you can just come up here to the wrist area and double click, and that'll collapse everything so you can kind of see these constraints. Double click on it again, it kind of opens it up. There's all my little fingers, and there's my constraints. So somewhere along the line, I'm going to want something that gives me IKFK control, and I got to make a decision where I want that to be. I could put it maybe on this controller here. Sometimes you can put it down on like a God controller. I am going to put it onto my wrist control. Okay, on my wrist control, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go edit, add attribute, and long name because IK FK. Okay, and minimum 0, maximum. I can do maximum 10 or maximum 1. Let's just do 1, because that means just on or off. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. And now, when I go in and I grab, let's grab this joint here. We'll do one at a time and then I'll figure it out afterwards. If I go here to IKFK, we can see that the weight from the orient constraint, they're both equal to 1 right now. I have them highlighted. I'm going to go and right click on the, or go up here to edit, set driven key. That brings the constraints onto the set driven key. I'm going to go in and grab this controller and I'll load that as the driver. There's the IKFK control. I could do these all at once. I'm going to do them one at a time just because it's less confusing. Okay, but if you get sneaky and smart, you can do this a lot faster. And I have to make a decision. What do I want 0 to be? I'm going to say I like IK animating, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to make that 0. And you just saw that move. Okay, and it just lined up. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit key. And then I'll go over here and I'll switch this to 1. Then I'm going to grab the constraint. You can just click on it here and it'll select it for you so you don't have to go hunting around. And I'll take that, make that 1, tab, 0, enter. And I'll go ahead and key that. And I'm going to do that with these other constraints. And I'm going to grab these 2 at the same time. Load driven. And let's do one at a time. Elbow. These are the 2 channels we're going to constrain. And currently we have it set to 1, and so that's set up for the FK. So I'm just going to take this thing and 0 it. I'll key it, take the wrist control, take this, turn it to 0, grab this constraint again, reverse the order around, 0, tab 1, enter, key. Okay, and then I got to do the wrist control here. So now we're at 0 on the wrist control here. So if I take this and I take the FK and turn it off, highlight them, both of them, key, then go back here, 0 to 1, and then I go into the orient constraint and I flip the order around, 1, tab, 0, enter, and I key it. And I didn't highlight them. Bastard! Key. Okay, and so now we'll just check it out. Does it work? If I take the IKFK, go from 1 to 0, whoop, we're switching between IK and FK controls. And if I got one step sneakier, let's see, I can do something here. You see that this, I should have done this one earlier. This controls where my elbow is pointing, okay, and it's coming off of the pull vector over here. It's coming off of the twist. Whoop. So let's see, I might just take this and I'm going to go in, edit, add attribute, and we're going to go in here and we'll call this elbow. Okay, call it elbow. Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to call it swivel or anything like that. Minimum, maximum. I'm not going to care. I'm just going to hit OK, and then I'll go into Windows, go into General, and I'm going to go into the connection editor. There's my wrist control. I'm going to go zipping down here to the bottom. There's elbow. And I'm going to go and select the IK handle. And I'm going to load it in here. And I'm going to go looking for the twist. And there's the twist. Boop, now they're hooked up. So now whenever I grab this control, and I want to control the elbow, I can do this. So I can hide that thing. I can parent it probably to this back piece here and hide it. Okay. And what else do we want to do in here? These controls, actually it's kind of hard to see this thing here. There's my clavicle control. I'm just gonna do a little trick here. Let's say, so I'm cleaning this up. What are we at? 14 minutes? Okay, let's go and do 2 screens. And then I'm going to take this one, make this perspective as well, and I'm going to isolate this. And as I'm doing this, I can go in here and grab control vertices. And let's see if I go in and I'll do something like hold down control. When I hold down control, it locks it to 2 axes. I've turned off those plane handles because I hate them. Okay. Grab these points here, scale them apart. Okay, anyway, something kind of easy to go in and see. Maybe that's up a bit high. easy to select and see from a few angles. Okay, and just go back to this. Okay, and okay, and how did I just slow that down again? Okay, and I can make those controllers hide when I go and I switch too, if I want to. So there is my controllers here for the shoulder, elbow, and wrist, and the visibility right here. If I want to control that, I'm going to go in here to highlight it and go into the set-driven key. Grab this controller here. Actually, this causes a problem. Well, we'll see what happens. If I have these all selected and their visibility is highlighted, if I grab this thing and I load this as the driver, when I do the IK-FK switching, I can make these all hide. So right now, we're on IK mode, so at 0, visibility, we'll say that's good, key it, and then when I go over here and I go from IK to FK, actually I just smoked a smoking crack. When I do the setting here, I'm going to take the visibility on these 3 things here. And if I go in and I zero this out, visibility so they're off, and then I key them, and then I go back here to this controller and I go from there to there, then I can go ahead and turn them on. 1, enter, and key it. Okay, and then I just got to do a bit more cleanup here, and I'm going to say that we've got the IK-FK switch working. So whenever I do 1, boop, and I got to hide these joints anyway. Okay, but there I can turn the switching off and on, and then I've got this thing here. Okay, and yeah, I'm going to stop this. I'll probably do another video for this.